I think the important thing is people do start. Think big, start small.
Do you find on your land subdivisions that even today, after all these years you've been doing it, do you still find that you come up or you get things come up that you're like, wow, never had this one before? The fact of the matter is, whatever it is you want to achieve, if you want to become a master at that craft, you need to learn from someone who's done it as well. Getting started in subdivisions. The money is in the land. Welcome to Property Banter by Pinnacle Buyers Agents, powered by Hashtag. Today we have Peter Baumann from Freedom Road Developments here to discuss how to make money in subdivisions with no money down, whether you are just starting out or you're a serious investor / subdivider. This episode is for you. Hope you enjoy. Peter Baumann, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Fantastic, buddy. Mate, I've been seeing you doing some fantastic things on social media with the subdivisions. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Let's show everyone at home today how they can make profit from subdivisions as well. And mate, let's head into it. We had one particular one that you wanted to talk about first up. And
well, that depends. Would you like to start big or would you like to start small?
Let's go, because this is going to be a two-part. I can see we got so much information here, so much value for everyone at home. Let's start with a general simple subdivision that someone starting off small can do, and then let's show them how the difference between that and then something at scale. Something that you really love. I know you're going to love the example.
I love it all, but yeah. I like what you're thinking, because I think the important thing is people do start. Yeah. Think big, start small. Yeah, because it's you don't jump, or you shouldn't jump into doing 10, 20, 50 lots on your first project. I mean, you might survive it, but you won't enjoy it. Yeah. And I think it's really important that first project is like a springboard to really bounce you and propel you into that future wealth creation. Whereas I have seen people bite off more than they could chew that first time, and unfortunately it ends up being more of an anchor than anything, and it can hurt your confidence. Which start with a good one. Which when I say small, I mean you can still make 100 grand, 200 grand, 300 grand out of that small project. Which I mean, I don't know about for you, but when I did my first project, I was making 70 grand a year in a job. So when I made 140,000 on my first project, that was like mind blowing, life changing, and just wow. Okay, there's something to this. So I think definitely starting in those smaller spaces. Typically for people starting out 1 to 2, 1 to 3, or look, even cosmetic renovations. These are great places to start. And especially with people that may already have a property and they're just looking to dip their toe in. A cosmetic renovation on their existing place, using that principal place of residence, tax-free wealth. That's a great place to start. But for subdivisions, 1 to 2, 1 to 3. One that we've got going on at the moment, which is a 1 to 2. It's pretty much that perfect, first project for someone. Now, to be fair, price brackets these days do impact that as well, where people can afford. But look, I don't know if we've got time for that today, but that's another topic for getting investors involved, because if you've got investors involved, then the world's your oyster and there is no price limit. That's a 1 to 2. We'll renovate the existing house. We're going to cut off a block of land on the side. Now, we may actually end up building like a Class 1B mini boarding house on it, but it's not required for the project. If this was one of my students coming to me going, look, this is my project, this is my first project, I'd be like, ditch the build, keep it simple, and we just, for lack of a better term, tart up the existing house and sell that vacant block of land, and we move on. You make a tidy 20% return on your cost. In that case if that project, I think it's around 300 grand, and be in and out in about 18 months. So it's really simple. First project for
cost-effective renovations don't go out of fashion. Even on those projects that you're talking about.
I got to remember we're doing a podcast. I just did the what do we call that again? Not the
air quotes.
Air quotes.
Fantastic. Let me ask you something. As a buyer's agent, we buy plenty of properties all the time, and it's every third one I might find something that I've never come across. It doesn't matter how long I've been in this game. I've been doing this for 10 years now, and I still come across. So the people that are starting out, there's so many ways in which you can encounter issues as well. Do you find on your land subdivisions that even today, after all these years you've been doing it, do you still find that you come up or you get things come up that you're like, wow, never had this one before?
This is an ongoing joke between myself and friends that do the same thing, and we joke about the air quote simple project because it's often the one that you go into thinking, oh man, this is a lay down misère. This one is. This is everything you hope for. This is the cookie cutter one. Yeah. But then that's the one where your excavator gets on site and puts the bucket into the ground, and there you go. Someone's buried asbestos under the slab before they built the house, or there's always different things. And one we've got going on at the moment in Griffin, we're in the pre-lodgement meeting with the council, and they said, "Oh look, we want a mosquito management plan."
Griffin's got mosquitoes though. It's got a lot. I know
it does, but even my town planner had not heard of this. And I put it out to all my friends and colleagues that do similar things. I'm like, does anyone know anyone that does mosquito management plans? Because that's a specialty consultant thing.
I didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah, well, I didn't know it was a thing either. And we'd never heard of it. And everyone's response back to me was like, nah, never heard of it. So there's a new one.
Well, I thought council has a management plan. They're the ones spraying it.
They do.
That's the management plan.
They do. But as I've learned now, part of that management plan is basically making sure we have no sitting water on the site when we're developing it. Yeah. And I actually don't mind this one because I might implement this at my house. So there's apparently trees that actually attract mosquitoes, and that's what the council wants, because then they just come along with their sprayers and just spray that particular tree instead of dropping spray out of helicopters. Yeah. So I'll probably find out what these trees are and plant them.
But I've heard there's trees that actually repel mosquitoes as well, like little plants you can get. So you could plant them around your house and keep them away. So I don't know. I've never done it. I've read it on Google, so it's got to be true.
Must be true.
Got to be true.
Must be true. Everything is true.
Talk to us about this project. Let's go into this project. Give us an example. So of entry costs. Where was it at? How did it all play out?
All right, I'll do the best of this I can off the top of my head. They'll be roughly accurate. Yeah. So this one we purchased for $1,050,000, so $1,050,000, and the development cost for this one will be around that $300,000 to $400,000 mark. So with that one there, obviously we've got the renovation in there. That's going to add a bit of additional cost, but general rule of thumb is you don't spend $1 unless you can make 3 off it on a reno. So we will. This is one of the most challenging things with renos, and for me personally as well, is there's keeping your ego out of it. As in, you're not renovating the property for you. You're not renovating the property for your wife or for your mother. It's about creating the most amount of value for the least amount of cost, so that you're actually getting that return. And this is, I always talk about, when tradies get into renos, this is often where they kind of fall off the wagon a bit, because they know their trade, but they don't necessarily know the reno for profit strategy. And then they get sidetracked into, we've got to make this, we've got to do that. And it's, where do you draw the line? Where do you stop? Because if you don't draw that line, you'll never stop. But at some point, the profit stops coming back. But so that one we'll sell the house itself for probably roughly around what we pay for the whole site. We'll probably sell it for about 1.1, 1.2. And when you hear me talk about the free block of land strategy, that's what I'm talking about there. Is we bought the whole thing for just over $1 million. We'll renovate the house and we'll sell the house for basically what we bought the whole parcel for. But then we'll still have that block of land sitting next door. And now that's an exciting place at the moment, what's happening in land, because as you see, it's a very segmented market at the moment. There are areas that are just going crazy. Yes. I mean, some areas we're working in, we've seen 25% growth in the last 10 months, some more. In other areas, it's kind of stuff's just sitting on the market, and so there's that segmentation. But land, particularly anything below 600,000 at the moment in Southeast Queensland, is feverish. Above that point, it gets a bit more challenging, which this project will be there. Like that, the land for this project will be above that 600,000 mark. So I'm not going to expect it just to walk off the shelf like other stuff. But it's pretty exciting what's happening in that space at the moment.
But I've got one of those right now. 1,000 square metre, subdividable, no easements, side access, retained subdivide, right? And the house we're looking to turn, it's got 2.4 metre height downstairs already. Super rare high set at 2.4 metres. I think I see one in every 500 or one in 1,000 that are a high set, not a Queenslander style, just a high set. With 2.4, legit 2.4. So it's already got the bedrooms and everything downstairs. Just got to add a kitchenette, fire check ceiling, separate the two, 10% on purchase price. And yes, I'll probably get $450 and $550 or whatever I get rent out of that. And then subdivide, retain, and good to go. We'll talk about that later. We'll talk more about that. But exactly what you're talking about. That's why I love hearing what you're saying. I'm like, I've got that going on now. So it's good. It's good to hear. It's good to hear. From yourself that That's an appealing strategy because I'm definitely doing it now, and especially getting two rents out of that first house.
Yeah, which is actually something we looked at on this one. Unfortunately, this one definitely not legal height underneath. And the great thing is I don't need a tape measure if I bump my head.
Do you walk through and do it? Because I walk through and when I stand up and just touch the ceiling, I know if I'm fully extended, it's 2.4.
Yeah, I think
you're taller than me.
Well, back in my volleyball days, I did know my reach exactly, which I think the volleyball net's 2.44, and then so I think my reach is like 2.6.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, if I put a flat hand,
so
on
your
the ceiling,
palm, yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. So I just do that all the time and just go, okay, that's that much.
The tradies have a laugh when I walk up because my wingspan is exactly 2 meters. So it's like if you want to know, if we want to measure something, I just walk up, basically hug the wall, and we know what we're at.
There you go. All these strategies, mate, all strategy. So so with that one, so 1.05.
Yes.
And then 1.05. Retain, subdivide. Did you renovate the house? What did we do with the front house?
So that one's actually still in the works. So we actually DA approval's due this week, and we don't always do this. We put tenants into this one for the time being. A couple of reasons. There's a housing shortage. So go back 5 years. If you had a project where you had a house available for 6 to 12 months, we didn't bother putting it on the market because no one wanted a 6-month lease. Yeah. Whereas in this current market, people have been very happy to take a 6-month lease, even if they knew they needed to move out at the end of it. It's not for everyone, but there's a need for that at the moment. So we actually did rent it out, and then basically once we get the DA approval, get the operational works approval, around that point we'll probably be near the 12-month mark from when we started on it. And then tenants will move out. Then we'll renovate that while we're doing the subdivision and connecting all the services.
Nice. So let's run through costs on that. So what does that FISO look like? What are we looking at? Obviously, purchase price, stamp duty, and then what are we looking at to split it and all expenses? And what are we looking at, which everyone at home would love to know? What's that bottom line looking like on that project?
All right, so I don't want to mislead anyone, so I wanted to get the spreadsheet out to actually tell you the exact numbers. I'm very much a numbers guy. I like it down.
You like a good spreadsheet?
I do like a good spreadsheet. That's it's very easy to get buried in them. So purchases for $1,050,000, and then we will have about another $200,000 in civils, and that's actually including the house renovation as well. And we'll have about $110,000 in soft costs. So the soft costs is what you were talking about before: stamp duty, legals on the purchase. Subdivisions, you've also always got council headworks or contributions. So that varies slightly from council to council. These days in most councils, it's up to about the $34,000. So just for anyone new listening in, so contributions is whenever you create a new title it's typically associated with the title, but not always. You contribute basically $34,000 to the council and the utility providers. And the idea there, some people feel this is fair, some people don't. The idea there is that if you think of this is a great example, this is an established area. This is a developed area. Yeah. But now if they were all 800 square metre blocks as an example, and we now go and subdivide them all into 400 square metre blocks, well, in simple terms, we've just doubled the density of the area. Yes. Now, the infrastructure was not built for that. So while they may not have to upgrade their infrastructure when we do this one project, over the period of time as people develop those projects, they're going to have to upgrade infrastructure. And the idea here is that that's what that contributions is going towards, the additional strain on the infrastructure. Yeah. So thought I'd explain that one because a lot of people wonder, where does that money go? Now, there are some interesting cases where you kind of, on the bigger ones, where you pay all that stuff, but you also build the infrastructure and you also do the upgrading, and then you're like, well, hang on, isn't that double dipping? But
Mate, I'm seeing plenty of projects in Sydney that are just being greenlit all over the place, and there's no upgrades in any infrastructure. I mean, it could be coming.
Yeah, well, it doesn't always happen in alignment, but and that's like whenever you go and do your applications with council, that's something they'll check. Well, not the council, the utility providers will check exactly that. It's like, what strain are you putting on it? Can it take this additional strain? And it's really important in your due diligence that you are doing that. And this is why having a good team around you is important. Getting the right consultants. Because energy, electricity is a perfect example. If you need to upgrade a transformer in the street because you're doing a 1 and a 2, that's a no-go. You're not doing that project.
What's a transformer worth for everyone at home?
Look, I've never actually had to do one, but I've heard rumours of them being up towards 200 grand and that sort of stuff.
I was thinking 100. Okay, up to 200. Well,
yeah, but because whenever it's come up where it's been one that I've had to do, it's just been that's just killed it. Like when the projects are larger, doing that sort of thing, you can absorb it. On our larger ones, we tend to have to absorb a bit of stuff around there, and that's fine. But it's always that Well, basically, it's the spreadsheet. What does a spreadsheet tell you? But so that's with your contributions, that's with all your consultants. And I mean, I include everything in here, including accounting, advertising, bookkeeping, everything. But so what we've got budgeted there for sales is, selling that house again for about 1.1. Now, I do believe we will actually achieve better than that. But, lesson with your feasibilities is, don't live in the world of hope. Live where you're confident. I always talk about my grandmother number. Yep. If my grandmother was investing with me, and I do love my grandmother, I understand some families might be a bit more complicated in that regard, but I do love. She's passed now. I loved my grandmother, still love her. But what's the number I would tell her if she was investing with me? Am I that confident in that number that I'd say, yeah, grandma, if you invest your life savings with me, that yes, I'm going to deliver on that number. Yeah. That's the number that goes in the feasibility. Yeah. You can have your best case number, sure. Yeah. Tickle your fancy, dream of that one at night. Don't make your decisions on that number though. Yeah. So 1.1, about 750 for the land, which gives us a total sales of 1.85, and that'll give us a net profit of about 300,000. So that's pretty much spot on, 20% ROI. Now, when I do my feasos, there's plenty of areas there where I believe there's additional profit. I believe we'll outperform that. I share that because I think hopefully there's some people that'll listen to this that are doing their first feasibilities, and undoubtedly if they are, there'll be some sitting there going, oh, this is so close. This is so close. If this works, if that works, it'll be fine. Yeah. That's the one that you don't want to go ahead with. You want your feasibility at the end there, sitting there showing you a nice healthy profit that's acceptable, and also knowing that that's not the best possible outcome. Yeah. Because if what's in your feasibility is the best possible outcome, then you've created the dream feasibility. You haven't created the realistic feasibility. Yeah.
Because there are plenty of feasibilities that you'll see, and as a buyer's agent, I get development sites all the time. They never work. They never work. The feasibility never works. The feasibility doesn't have some of the things that you mentioned now. And it's like a best case scenario, 15% best case scenario on townhouse sites and stuff like that. But then you have a look at some of them and it's like, okay, how much did you allow for project marketing or whatever? And it's like 10 grand or so. It's like, man, it doesn't work that way. They're always wrong. So the fact that you have that, worst case scenario put in, every single thing, accounting, all those things that don't normally come on those spreadsheets, on those feasibilities that we get regularly from someone trying to pass off a development site, right? That's really not feasible, but he's still trying to sell it for top dollar. They come around every day.
Oh, absolutely.
That's really, really good. So I'm going to put you on the spot now. We can cut this little section. But can we send that spreadsheet out to everyone? If they flick us an email, we'll put it in at the end of the show. We'll put it in the details. And if they want a copy just to see what a good spreadsheet looks like, Peter's the man. And obviously you can use this in your investing and when you do your next FISA, so you get a good look at what a good FISA looks like. Not the type of FISAs that you will get, from agents trying to sell you properties or from people that don't know what they're doing. So that's a good little value add if you're keen on that one.
Well, you actually kind of beat me to the punch in that can be an add-on. But what I was going to say was we can put a link in. There's a program that I created which is worth about $1,000, which I was going to suggest we pop in as a link to the listeners, and I'll add that spreadsheet in. Be warned, it is a tool. It is not the answer to all of your prayers. That's the thing. If you're looking for that magic pill, that's the danger, is looking for the magic pill. There is no magic pill. You got to get educated. You got to get a good team around you. What you've touched on there is a really important point in not just development, but any real estate is people do feasibilities and they go, oh, no, we don't need to include this. We don't need to include that. But it's all those tidbits. It's all those little bits and pieces that add up. And then you sit there, let's say you bought it as a cash flow property and you end up sitting there going, why am I having to put money into it? Or if it was negatively geared, God forbid, and you're going, why is it costing me so much more than I thought? Or it's like, well, it's all those bits that you chose to ignore. And I mean, my eyes got blown open when I'm very regularly shocked by what people pay for sites, way over the odds. Now, look, if that's an investor with a 20-year time horizon, different story. But people that are actually buying them, wanting to develop them immediately, and you look at what they pay and you're like, this person has not done their numbers or doesn't understand their numbers. But it was when I started, it was one particular time when I was advertising to have a new acquisitions manager join my team. And I had these guys start with me. And these are people that had been buying sites for other people. And they couldn't do a feasibility to save themselves. And including one that quite literally came up to me and said, look, this deal will work if we remove the finance costs. Yeah. It's like, all right, well, if you can have a chat to the bank and get the bank to give us the money for free.
That's good. Oh, hang on. I didn't think of this. Why didn't we all think of this? Just free money.
Yeah. Free money. It's like, but it doesn't work as the spreadsheet is. But if we remove those costs, it does work. And I was waiting for the punchline. I was waiting for him to tell me that it was a joke. He was dead set serious. It's like, yeah, let's just ignore these costs. If we delete them off the spreadsheet, forgetting that doesn't delete them from reality, then this deal will work. Yeah. It's like, well, while we're at it, why don't we just delete the construction costs?
If you can give the government a call and see if we can just remove stamp duty on this one, say, hey, mate, sort us out on this one, look after us.
I love the optimism, but, optimism's doesn't have a line on the spreadsheet. So, yeah, look, it's something to be very mindful of is when you get into real estate, even if it is to buy and hold or it's cash flow properties or it's development, whatever it might be, it's so important to learn your numbers. And I know when I got started being a numbers guy and being a details person, that was the thing I struggled the most to get the confidence around. I'd done these courses, I'd read these books, and then I'm going and looking at these properties and still feeling completely unprepared because I'm like, all right, well, great, this stuff has to happen, but how do I even get the numbers around it? Well, the answer there is you either need to keep trying and keep practicing, or you've got to get people around you that do know the numbers that can help you through that. That was what worked for me because that speeds up things a lot when someone can look over your shoulder when you're getting started, just going, yeah, that'll cost you X, that'll cost you Y, that'll cost you this, da-da-da. Don't worry about that. No, don't move that. Do this. Yeah, and that's all about having the right team around you.
100%. That's experience.
Probably always goes back to the same thing: is look at the person's result that you're getting the advice from. If they haven't been doing cracking developments,
if they haven't achieved what you want to achieve. Anyone can throw out advice. We've got the internet today. It's funny how people will just see someone on the internet and assume, oh, yeah, that they know what they're talking about just because they've done a couple of reels. The fact of the matter is, whatever it is you want to achieve, if you want to become a master at that craft, you need to learn from someone who's done it as well. And it's the same. But, going back to not overpaying, it's funny. I see the same thing. I like to absolutely smash deals, right? I like to get everything under market value as much as possible and get good deals. And a lot of deals don't stack up. So we don't buy. There's plenty that we don't buy. Whereas someone who doesn't have that experience will buy them. And the funny thing is, in your game, I see what happens all the time. I never see something just get emailed to me that comes with a natural 20 or 30 or whatever percent.
I'm so glad to hear you say that.
They do not come around. So anyone in your game that sits there and says and tries to come up with a spreadsheet and show you something, hey, I just got this from this real estate agent. If the real estate agent's sending you a development site, Feaso, and saying, hey, this is a good site, it's 2.5 mil, buy it, whatever. I'm telling you now, it's not good because he would already know a developer. He would have already known someone that would have seen that. That house would have been door knocked 1 million times by somebody. People don't understand that the stock that they're getting, the things that they're spending their time on doing feasibilities when they don't have the experience and they're not buying it right, they're literally wasting their time on things, trying to make things work that don't stack up. Sorry, I'm literally hijacking, telling you how it is from my end and what I see.
I'm just so glad to hear someone else say it. Yeah. I'm pretty sure if you comb through all of my social media clips, there will be something where I've said that almost verbatim because it's so true. It's like, people shopping on realestate.com, it's like, well, that's shopping retail. That's shopping retail. And quite literally exactly what you said is if it's made it to realestate.com, it's because it's already been through the hands of, I don't know how many developers, or if it's a development site, or how many full-time investors, because the guys that are serious about this, the guys that are really delivering amazing results, we're not sitting on our backside waiting for the properties to land in our lap.
The agent's got their number.
Yeah, we're hunting or otherwise harassing agents going, I want to be the guy you call when that thing comes, or we're engaging with them directly ourselves and all these sorts of things.
Would it be because you're serious and because you're fast with the deal? See, all those things, agents love this. They love to know that you're there, you're serious, send it to me, I'll have a quick look, bang. And it's under contract immediately. Anything that means, if it's a development site and it's on realestate.com, I promise you it's been there for a while.
I'll give you 2 exceptions in my career so far where I bought off realestate.com. And that's only 2.
They're rare, aren't they?
Yeah. So the first one was actually my second deal. Yeah. And I find it a little bit funny because the first deal I did, it was a little bit of baptism by fire, partly because I got into it. I didn't have a coach when I got into it. Yeah. I then got one because I realized, oh, shit, I can't swear.
You're in over your head.
Yeah. But one of the neighbours was friends with the local member and didn't like what I was doing. So we won't get all into that, but it was just, there was a whole lot of additional...
So there's even things that aren't on a spreadsheet that can pop up.
No, that's exactly right, because what that local member was doing actually was 100% not okay. And you would say it was abusing powers that he had based on the way politics used to be and the fact that he'd been there for decades. And so, and this is literally coming from the town planners in council. They'd approved it. And they're like, and he's, anyway, we won't go down that path. But so after that first one, I'm like, I'm never going in that council again. I'm never operating in that council again.
Oh man, I know which council this is. Just listening to that, I bet you any money it's in Brisbane and it's not on the north side.
It's
you can name
the irony is now is where I do most of my developments, but it is because what happened was I'm like, I'm never going back there, and then I pushed over the boundary into the other council, and I'm hunting, and I couldn't find anything, and then I was on realestate.com, and back then I still held a lot of hope for realestate.com back then. I'm not saying ignore realestate.com, just don't expect you're getting a lot there.
Check your comparables from realestate.com. Check what the house is going to sell for and stuff like that. But
use it as a reason to engage with agents.
Yes.
But this one's popped up and I've got, heck no. I've clicked past it. And there's this little voice in my head that went, no, Peter, I'd made a commitment that I was putting in X amount of offers that week. I'm like, no, Peter, you said you were putting in X amount of offers. Click back onto it, have a look at it. And I was like, hang on. There's something to this. Because they were advertising it as a townhouse site. And I knew damn well they couldn't do townhouses there because basically there'd been a new planning scheme that had come out and a lot of people were misunderstanding it. And they were advertising this as a townhouse site and they were applying rules that existed under the old planning scheme but not the new one. And I knew that. So I basically called the agent and said, look, I'll give you your asking price, but I'm telling you right now, I am confident that can't be done. But hey, if I'm wrong, and here's probably a good tip in this, you don't call up an agent and tell them they're wrong. I don't believe that can, you can do it, it just won't go very far. But look, if you're right, I'm happy to pay you that price. I knew that it wasn't going to happen. But look, but I'll need to do a pre-lodgement meeting with council to confirm this because I'm quite confident it's not. But hey, otherwise happy to pay the price. But look, you understand, obviously, if we can't do that, then we're going to have a conversation around price because X, Y, Z. Yep, great. Okay, did the pre-lodge, got council to put in writing that was not going to be allowed. And so immediately I became the subject matter expert. So not only the agent, but also the vendors all of a sudden had a huge amount of trust in the words that I had to say. But anyway, we renegotiated that. That actually turned into a pearler of a deal because then I found out they actually didn't want to leave. They just wanted to downsize. So then instead of me buying the whole thing off them, we just renegotiated it. So they just released land to me either side. Perfect. And got to pay for it when we sold the land at the end. So all I had to come up with was the money to actually fund the civils, which was pittance relative to the deal. So the ROI on that, I forget what it was, but it was well over 100%. Like it was awesome. And it was awesome for them. So that was the great thing. It was win-win, But so that was number one off realestate.com. So agent misunderstanding the zoning, but so were a lot of people at the time. The other one was, I would say, a very motivated seller and an agent, again, that probably didn't understand necessarily what was going on with that property. And as soon as it came on realestate.com, my acquisitions manager at the time was like, bang, let's grab that, lock it down under contract. And probably a lesson in that too is like, we didn't have all the answers at that point. Here's a lesson, guys. If you see an opportunity, you don't have time to go and get on your spreadsheets and sit around.
Put it under contract.
Yes, get it off the market. You have to get it off the market, especially if you're new. And it's like, I can do the numbers on a deal like that. I can do fast numbers in about 30 seconds. I can do detailed numbers pretty damn quick. But even then, it's get it under contract. Get it under contract, and then we figure out how this is all going to work.
I had this conversation this morning. I've got a 50K under market deal, and I said, don't wait, because the last one sold at 855. I got this one for 800. You have to buy it today, put it under contract. We'll do a DD pack. I'll do the video walkthrough. I'll go check it out, make sure it's all right, and then if you want it, you can have it. If you want to cancel the contract, you can cancel it, but you need to do this today. He will sell it on us. He sold the last one on us for 855. He's going to sell this. And it's the same thing, it's the speed. So I can have a look at a house and within 60 seconds, I know how much that's going to cost me to renovate fully.
Now, I'll put the question back to you. Why do you know that?
Because I've done it. I've done it so many times it's not funny. So many times it's not funny. So I'm at a level where I can move fast on a deal, faster than somebody else. So now if you're out there and you're looking for just a regular deal, and you're just looking for that regular investment property, you'll come up against people like me. Now, if you're looking to do a subdivision, they will come up against people like you. Yep. And we move within the hour, right? And it's just a matter of me getting the email over with the buying entity, right? That's all it is. So anyone out there going, oh, you know what, I've got to talk to the accountant. I've got to get my uncle's opinion. I've got to get my neighbour's opinion. I've got to ask the guy down the street who says it's maybe a good area, maybe not.
I've got to talk to my broker.
I've got to talk to my broker. The broker says no.
Should have already spoken to your broker.
You should already be talking. You should already know what you can buy. The broker should already be sorted before you move. You can't be looking at stuff without knowing how much money you have. So all of these things is the same, whatever you're in. And I think it comes down to knowing it. And what I've learned from you now is if you're looking at subdivisions, you need to know that spreadsheet in and out so that you can price up a site immediately and you can move fast. And as long as you've got a good solicitor or you even know your clauses, like I already know my clauses, I already know what's got to get emailed over, bang, I throw in the DD clause. And we're covered, mate.
We have our, like I'm layering this on thick because I hope that like for you guys this helps this land is we've never talked about this before.
Yeah,
never.
What?
As in like what we're talking about right now is in the annexures and this is a brand new conversation for us. But we've just discovered we do the same thing. Isn't that an interesting coincidence? You're getting results and I'm getting results, but we're doing the same thing. All right. So I have my annexures ready to go. I have multiple versions of them. I can cut and paste a bit different ones. I just go, okay, for that one we need version 6, send that off. And I can have my team just send it off like that. We can act fast. I'm going to give a gift here. And this is, I always have to emphasize this because I really do feel that this one gets missed as to how valuable this is because it's so simple.
I'm intrigued now.
Back of the envelope numbers. All right. Back of the envelope numbers for a subdivision these days. Now, this is one where there is so much misinformation around. I mean, there are still agents walking around going, oh, it only costs 30 grand to do a subdivision, doesn't it? It's like, I don't know, maybe it did in the 70s, maybe. I don't know. It definitely doesn't anymore. When I started in 2015, it cost around 100, maybe up to 150,000 typically to do a 1 or 2 subdivision. Now you're talking more like 250 to 300,000. Now, why the big jump? First of all, you got to think, there's a lot of costs in real estate that are relevant relative to price. Stamp duty relative to price, agents' commissions exiting relative to price, holding costs relative to price. Prices have obviously increased a lot, so therefore that as well. But the other thing is council, I guess the whole world, there's a whole lot more box ticking and red tape and this, that. So there just tends to be a whole lot more reports that need to be done, a whole lot more work for your consultants to do, a whole lot of additional work for your civil contractors to do because they keep, I guess I'll call it improving the finished product. But there's your back of the envelope numbers. If you're looking at a deal and you go, okay, I'm like Michael, I'm out there and I'm like Michael and Peter, I know my area. I know that I can subdivide that into 2 400 square meter blocks. I know I can sell each block for, let's call it 500,000 each. So that's $1 million. Okay, I've got $1 million in gross realization. Fantastic. All right, well, if I want a 20% margin, I need to multiply $1 million by 0.83. All right, that's going to give me my max cost. Take off my back of the envelope numbers. If it's a 1 or 2 subdivision, you could go 250,000. That's your max offer. Now, is that going to vary? Is that rule going to work perfectly everywhere all over Australia? Not quite, but close enough. As in, there's your starting point. After you do a few detailed feasibilities, you might go, oh, you know what? In my area, I can get away with 175, maybe because the prices are lower. Or it might be I'm working in a more premium area. Maybe it needs to be 300,000. But like, keep in mind too that that's bare bones. That's not including demolition. That's not including replacing fencing. That's not, that's just the bare basics. But now you've got those numbers that you can at least go, okay, if I put that back of the envelope number on there, this is going to be my profit. That looks good. Bang, get it under contract. Then get your spreadsheet out. Do your detailed feasibility. And ideally do it with someone that has done it before. Because I can tell you people I've worked with that have done multiple...
And don't listen to the agent. The agent's not doing your feesos. We need to put that out there just before we end here at part 1. We need to put it out there. You do not take the agent's feeso as gospel. Guys, that's got to stop.
You got to remember, and this is with all respect to agents, there are fantastic agents out there, and there are fantastic agents that specialize in developments. That doesn't mean they've ever done one. And until you've done a thing, you don't know how to do a thing. And like we just talked at the very beginning of this episode as to, yes, after doing this for years, there are always new things. So how can someone possibly help you with the numbers that isn't currently in that game themselves?
Hasn't done
doing
it
the
once
deals?
Themselves.
Or that, even worse.
Or even once.
Yeah.
And I've bought 500 properties in my career and I still get things that I haven't seen before. So it's just, we're better equipped to deal with it. but it's so minimal that we've minimized as much risk as possible because we understand it. We've done it so many times. We know what to look out for to ensure that it ends up being the project that, we've initially done the FISO on correctly. Please check out this podcast on Spotify, YouTube, like and subscribe. We're on all the social media platforms. Hope you enjoy.